Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Jodie Hill from Thrive Law, and today I'm going to talk about an app. It's the new Test and Trace app, and it's meant to launch at the end of June. And the idea is that everybody should download it, although it's not mandatory, so you don't have to, but people should download it, is what the government is saying, so that they can relax some of the rules and also monitor who is infected and where they've been. So the idea is if you test positive, you can then put that into the app. The app will then determine, and you will also have to say who you have been near. So for example, it's where you're not social distancing, so like your household, if you're in a workplace where social distancing isn't possible. And this is why it's relevant to employers, because so many people are going back to work and they are within 2 meters of each other, but potentially wearing some protective equipment. And if this app goes off and tells everybody they need to self-isolate, then workplaces are going to be left in a really difficult position. And so really the point of this video is to talk about some of those areas and help people understand what their obligations are. So first of all, big question, do you have to force all your staff to download it? I think that's a really difficult one. I think ultimately the government aren't enforcing it. So the only way that you could do that is to put it as part of your policies and procedures. I think there's a really fine line here though, because it's not just asking someone to say whether they've got the symptoms. You're asking them to download something onto their personal phone. I think if it's a work phone, then that might work, because you could actually say to them as part of the company policy, all work phones have to have it. But the reality is, who takes their work phone everywhere? Not everybody, presumably. That's the whole idea of having 2 phones. So I think it'll be hard, because you're not having to enforce, you can't enforce it. You can't tell somebody that they have to have this on the phone. What you can do is suggest that people do it and tell them the benefits of why. I think that's a fair way to proceed. And if you are, as a business, going to introduce the Test and Trace app, then you should have a really clear policy about what happens, how it works, what it means, when you have to self-isolate, what close contact means. Really clearly define what that is, so that it's really clear, because if it's not clear, then that's where you'll have confusion and people not doing what is meant by getting the text that they get on the app, that they've obviously been in close contact with someone. So it's really important that businesses consider how this might impact on their business. It's really, really important you think about that now and not when it happens, because if for whatever reason a couple of people in little bubbles within the organisation all get these messages and everybody has to self-isolate, you have to consider as a business how you will manage through that process, because it's a reality, it could happen. And ultimately it's something that a lot of businesses probably aren't thinking about right now, because the app hasn't come in, they probably haven't even probably opened yet, or if they have opened, they've only just started taking people back. So this is a way to try and minimise risk. So lots of people will be downloading it. It might be in your workplace you don't have anyone that's using it, and then you just have to go by traditional methods of reporting sickness and self-isolating if you have any symptoms. But it's really important that businesses think about how this might impact on their business now. So from an employer's perspective, what practical tips can I give you to help you manage potential issues that might arise? 1. The first thing is that you might want to consider shift patterns and staggering your workforce, because if one person has come into contact with coronavirus and they all work at the same time and they've all been in contact with each other, your entire workforce may be isolating at the same time. In order to avoid that, I would suggest advocating home working where possible, staggered start times, and reducing the amount of public transport that people take, because that's a real difficult place for you to social distance, especially because people are touching things as they get on and off the bus or the train. So 2 final points to consider is with the app, to avoid impact on the business, make sure you have a policy in place around how that might impact on the business, and really consider how that might impact on the team and the general workflow if the whole team were to self-isolate, and put preventative measures in place. And secondly, have a really clear social distancing policy, so that actually you reduce the likelihood of anyone actually coming into contact with each other. It's really important that you consider that. And actually, one more thing, really important, nearly forgot. You might want to just check your own mobile phone policies. It might be that you don't allow mobile phones on the floor, and actually you might want to relax that as a business, because it would be really helpful to know that if anyone is walking around and they actually come into contact with each other, that they are then at risk. So I think it's really helpful to just consider all of your policies and procedures that might affect this process, and then potentially draft a new policy or amend your existing policies so that it covers these other eventualities which are likely to come into play once the app is downloaded later this month. If you have any questions, please do get in touch. I will be releasing another video on this later on once we've seen the app, once we've actually been able to use it. But it's really interesting to see from my perspective, if anyone is going to download it, please let me know. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you think it's a bit invasive, what you think about privacy. And also as an employer, are you telling your staff to use it? Are you even thinking about this? Talk to me about all of these areas. I'd love to hear from you, and hopefully hear from you very, very soon. Thank you.